All right, welcome. It is the last day of June 2023. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Today, we're diving into the ever-changing world of legal precedents. Oh, I'm sorry. And surprising ways they can shift, because we're about to navigate settled law, a little dash of Roe v. Wade, affirmative action, and of course, a couple of bad jokes. So let's start with Roe v. Wade, the heavyweight champion of settled law controversies. Used to be as settled as a sleeping cat in a sunbeam, but one minute, it's solid. The next, teetering on the brink. It's like a never-ending legal debate where the staunchest advocates have a hard time keeping up. It's like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands, and the Supreme Court has been on fire lately. Speaking of settled law on the rocks, we can talk about affirmative action. It used to be the belle of the diversity ball, shining star of equal opportunity. But now it's like a contestant on a reality show where every season a new panel of judges decides whether it stays or gets voted off the legal island. It's like watching a courtroom version of Survivor, where the laws are constantly fighting for immunity and the rest of us are just trying to figure out who's going home next. But here's the kicker, folks. The difference between settled and unsettled laws often boils down to your personal preference. It's like choosing between chocolate and vanilla, except instead of ice cream, it's the rules that govern our lives. We all have our own biases and beliefs, and surprise, surprise, they tend to color our perception of what should be settled and what's up for debate. It's like playing a never-ending game of, I like this law, so it's settled. I don't like that law, so it's unsettled. Yeah. And let's not forget our old friend common law. It's like the wise elder of the legal system, the guiding force that predates, well, most of us. Common law is based on tradition, like a recipe handed down through generations, but like trying to bake grandma's cookies without a recipe, sometimes common law can leave us scratching our heads, wondering what exactly we're supposed to do with all these vague legal ingredients. So, my friends, settled law is like that friend who promises to show up at your party and then cancels last minute. It's fickle, unpredictable, often leaves us wondering what happened to the certainty we thought we had. But hey, in the world of law, surprises are the name of the game, and settled law knows how to keep us on our toes. So remember, folks, while settled law may seem like a well-constructed legal structure, it's always subject to change. So continue fighting for the laws that you believe in, because the only thing certain is the uncertainty of settled law. My name's Tom Coffey. This is the Coffee Nuance Show, the best censored commentary and news show live right now. Flame on. Yeah, so I've been hearing about settled law a lot, especially with the things that have been happening this week with affirmative action. We hear that settled law, settled law, settled law. And I was like, well, let me look into what this settled law thing is. As far as I can tell, it's just an expression. And it really does just seem to be like an opinion. That's the way our system works, right? You can think that things are settled. You would think, Second Amendment, right? Shall not be infringed. That's settled law. And yet, if you aren't in favor of that, it doesn't seem like settled law. It's something that should be brought up all the time. We need to make changes to it. We need to do all of these things. And that's the kicker. When you hear someone say that's settled law, that lets you know that they don't agree and they don't really have an argument. Saying something's settled law That's not an argument. It's not. You got to do better than that. But I have, for whatever reason, I've been seeing it so often, like in the past 24 hours, I just thought I'd share that with you. I thought settled law was actually something, but it's not. Just an opinion. Settled law means it's the law you like, or a law that you're happy to live with. Everything else, well, I'm repeating myself. I do that sometimes. What are you going to do? Anyway, got an interesting show. Got a number of stories to get to today. The first one is going to be a fact check because it is Fact Check Friday. And it's a real easy one. But I think it's going to give you a handle on how you can look at some of the news and how to question it. And lastly, the good news I have today is something that I will be doing myself. It's an interesting story to stick around with. And in the after show, I'll be going through all your comments. So please stick around for the after show. We are streaming live every day, Monday to Friday on YouTube and on Rumble, rumble.com/coffeenuance/live. So let's go. Let's get to the fact check. Okay. This fact check is about the Ukrainian elections. And, often I get fooled on stuff. I get fooled. I see something and my hair's on fire. I can't believe this. And this one got me. This fooled me a little bit. So let's check it out. This is Snopes here. Did Zelenskyy say there'd be no elections in Ukraine until the war ends? Okay, well that's the question. And of course they're giving it away right here. The Ukrainian constitution doesn't allow elections when martial law is imposed. There you go. That's it. End of story. Now I'll just go with it. So the thing is, I heard, you hear these things. You'll see some right-wing post or something, and it'll say, "Can you believe this?" And by right-wing, I mean right-wing that's not in favor of the Ukraine war. I don't know. It's confusing who's left and right-wing anymore. But you may see something such as like, "Oh, can you believe Zelenskyy? He's supposed to be all about democracy, and look, he's not even having an election." And that's a pretty good point if you don't know the story behind it. And I'll get to some better arguments in a second here. But here's the claim. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelenskyy said in June 2023 that the country would hold no elections until the war with Russia ends. And so what do we say? Oh, they say that's true. The Ukrainian constitution prohibits holding elections during periods of martial law. Currently, Ukraine is under martial law, meaning that they don't have the regular laws in place. The whole country's kind of being run by the military. That's what martial law means, essentially. So, June 22nd, President Vladimir Zelenskyy told the BBC Ukraine's scheduled parliamentary and presidential elections would occur only if martial law had ended by that time. Okay, so he expressed hope there would be peace in Ukraine next year and life would return to normal. I think we'd all like that. Zelenskyy first declared martial law at the start of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, February 22nd, 2022. And he recently extended the declaration to August 30th, 2023. So based on the terms outlined in the Ukrainian constitution, elections for Ukraine's parliamentary body and presidency cannot be held while there's martial law. So the law makes that explicit. So, okay, that makes sense. Often when you hear something outrageous, the first thing that you can ask yourself is, wait a minute. Is there a simple explanation for this? Because a lot of times there can be a simple explanation. In this particular case, that's the law of Ukraine. Can't have elections under martial law. So, so that is the fact check. Now, there are better ways to attack Zelenskyy if you are of the belief that Zelenskyy is not being very democratic. I kind of feel that way. But this particular angle doesn't really work. Right? So you could say, right, if you wanted to talk about Zelenskyy not being very democratic and how we're not really defending democracy there, you might say, well, you know, we're talking about Zelenskyy and democracy and everything like that, but he outlawed all the opposition parties. That doesn't sound very democratic. He was funded by a big media oligarch, right? And when the war started, they just took over all the other media. So there's no independent media in Ukraine right now. Those are much better attacks if you want to say that Zelenskyy is not being very democratic, right? So there's fair ways to go after him, but just because he's not holding an election, that doesn't exactly work. And so I hope that I've given you a little better explanation. But the thing is, what I found is, you know, on Twitter, people don't look into stuff. They find the simplest way to attack somebody and they go with it and they don't research it at all. And then Snopes can do, this is a layup for Snopes. This is really easy. They can tell you you're wrong. And that's a drag because there are so many good reasons that you can be critical of Zelenskyy, but not having the election, that's not really one of them. So there you go. Let's get to another story. This one I think you'll find very interesting. So, genetically modified mosquitoes? Let's leave it to humans to think they can play God with insects. I mean, haven't we learned anything from these sci-fi movies? Next thing you know, these mosquitoes, they're going to demand their rights and form unions and ask for better blood-sucking benefits. So here's the story. This story is actually from August 20th of 2020. Genetically modified mosquitoes will be released in the Florida Keys and Houston to combat diseases like dengue fever and Zika virus. The plan involves releasing male mosquitoes that mate with females, resulting in female offspring that cannot survive. The project has been recently approved by the EPA, but critics are concerned about potential risks to the environment and human health. The company behind the project, Oxitex Limited, has successfully conducted similar experiments in the past. However, they're worried about the impact on threatened and endangered species. So this was from, don't mind the Chiron, that's for the next story. But so in Florida and in Texas in 2020, they released some genetically modified mosquitoes. Well, this might just be a coincidence, okay? Why is malaria making a comeback in Florida and Texas? Well, apparently even mosquitoes can't resist the sunny beaches of Tex-Mex cuisine. I guess they got tired of carrying around West Nile virus and Zika, and they thought, hey, let's spice things up with a little malaria. Who needs international travel when you can catch a tropical disease right in your own backyard? Yeah, so here's the story from yesterday. 5 cases of locally acquired malaria have been confirmed in Florida and Texas, marking the first instance of the disease being acquired in the United States in 20 years. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention has declared malaria a medical emergency and urges individuals with symptoms to seek urgent evaluation. The risk of malaria in the U.S. remains low, while most cases are acquired during international travel, primarily in Africa. Malaria is caused by parasites transmitted by certain mosquitoes and can lead to severe symptoms. Florida and Texas have issued health warnings and provided recommendations to prevent mosquito-borne illnesses, including draining standing water, using insecticides, wearing protective clothing. Texas clinicians are advised to inquire about patients' travel history and potential exposure to malaria-affected areas. So, just because 3 years ago they released these genetically modified mosquitoes in Texas and in Florida doesn't mean that has anything to do with now there being malaria in Texas and in Florida. Okay? It's a coincidence. I don't have any evidence to suggest otherwise. I just found it interesting. And I'm not trying to and I'm really not. I'm not like secretly winking. I don't think that they're related. I do think that it is coincidental. But it is interesting. There's warnings about these genetically modified mosquitoes, and then all of a sudden, we got malaria, which we didn't have in 20 years. It's probably just a coincidence, because, you know, sometimes there are coincidences. I don't know. But I thought that was an interesting story, and I had not seen it brought up anywhere. So, yeah. Anyway, what's happening in Hollywood? So late night comedy writers are still on strike, risking a dire future. You know it's serious when they're willing to put down their red pens and pick up picket signs. Let me tell you folks, if this strike continues, late night shows will be reduced to interviewing random people on the street like a bad TikTok. So here's the story. Late night comedy writers face a grim future if the Writers Guild fails to negotiate a successful deal with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers to end their 8-week strike. The strike revolves around issues such as fair pay, residuals for streaming services, job security. Late night shows have been affected, canceled episodes, altered formats. Late night hosts have, you know, they got to support the strike, but nah, it's not going well. But reality shows and daytime talk shows, they remain unaffected with this strike. So, yeah, still happening. Still happening. I just wanted to give you an update because it's been 8 weeks now. Nothing solved. So, yeah. Late night coffee, perhaps. Perhaps I'm going to have to do it. We'll see. Now, I do have a little tech news that I want to tell you about, and you might find it interesting. So have you heard about this Motorola Defy satellite link? It's like having your own personal satellite messaging hotspot. You can send text to outer space and hope the aliens' response times are a little bit shorter than your friends. So Motorola has released the Motorola Defy satellite link. It's a $150 Bluetooth accessory that allows Android and iOS devices to send text messages via satellite. It offers full messaging capability. Messages can be sent to other users in their own little bullet satellite messenger app. So this does require a monthly fee from $5 to $30, depending on the different plans they have. But it's water resistant, and it can be purchased from various retailers like AT&T, REI, and B&H Photo. So this is a kind of a really cool thing. You know, satellite phones are really, really expensive. And the service for satellite phones is really expensive. But if you're going off someplace that you're, off grid and you still need to communicate, this is a new option that allows you to text people. And that's unbelievable. That's fantastic. I think that this is a great service if you're out, hiking far away, you don't have cell service. This could save your life, And if you're traveling overseas, you want to stay in touch. Maybe you don't want to pay for the roaming plan. You're only going to be in that country for 2 days, but you do want to send a text to someone. You can do that now with this satellite text link thing. I think it's cool. I think it's kind of cool. I don't know if it's really for me, but I wanted to tell you about it because maybe it's for you. And lastly, we're going to get to some good news. It's real good news for me. That's right. I found myself going to another Tiki-Kon festival where people are living it up in their vintage Hawaiian shirts, sipping those tropical cocktails. It's like stepping into a time machine where the biggest controversy is whether you use paper or plastic straws. Forget red state, forget blue state. We're talking about the profound divide between sipping and sucking. Right? It's a reminder that in a world filled with political turmoil, sometimes the biggest battles are fought over the tiniest bendy things. And I say cheers to that. So this weekend is the final Tiki-Kon. This is a festival, convention here in Portland. It's a weekend festival celebrating tiki bars, cocktails, art, music, fashion, inspired by exotic tropical destinations. It started as a bar crawl in 2002. And it's grown into a 4-day event with music, dancing, dining, drinks, art showcases, parties, shopping, and educational symposiums, which is kind of my thing. Tiki-Kon draws inspiration from the Polynesian-themed restaurants of the post-World War II era, and it aims to recreate the ambiance without any of the negative aspects of the past. It provides a nostalgic escape and promotes a joyful environment. So that is my good news today. I'm going to Tiki-Kon as soon as this video is done. I think the first symposium that I'm going to go to is at 2:30 local time, and it's about how they get some of the tiki mugs, right? And they get them to look so shiny. Actual symposium on this, and there's symposiums on different rums and different things like that. It's going to be a lot of fun. But for me, it's good news. I know you're probably not in Portland, so you can't go, but I just wanted to tell you about it. But also, there might be a silly convention near you. That might be something that you might look into. See if there's any cool, fun, stupid conventions that are coming to your city. Because sometimes it's fun just to go to a silly convention like this. And like I say, you can get together with people, not talk about politics, and just relate around something different. And I think that's good news. That's positive. So anyway, that's what I'm doing today. That's what I'm doing all day till midnight, and do it again tomorrow. Anyway, but I will see you again on Monday. Stick around for the after show. I'll be going through all your comments. Hope you all are doing fantastic, and I'll see you next time. Peace. So here we are in the I had D-Live up again, but and I thought I did everything to stream, but it still says that I'm offline. So I will I'll have to keep trying. I was trying to go live on yet another platform. It still hasn't worked. We'll keep trying. Anyway, what is up with Rumble here? Duggo checking in with a 5-spot. Thank you. All right. Hashtag Fact Check Friday. So good to see you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Apothecary John's checking in. OX_00. Nice. Fact Check Friday restores sanity from the news. And playing God, I do think we need to make advancements, but with an abundant level of caution when messing with living organisms in nature. Regulators tend to be in bed with the regulated. Yeah, we've seen that a lot, especially concerning, this big lockdown thing that we had. Turns out that, the source of that may have been our own doing. Right? It may have been created in a lab. And people with good intentions trying to come up with ways things can go wrong. Now, I don't know that that's the case with the malaria, but I think we really have to have an abundance of caution when we're playing God, when we're messing around with this kind of stuff. Malaria is scary stuff. Yeah. Okay. On the YouTube, Lucid Moments beat Apothecary John to be the first one in the chat. It was totally legit. Apothecary John is claiming cheating, but no, that's actually legit. Let's see. Good to be here. Oh, Ian's here. What's up? Where do I send a super chat? Well, thank you, Ian. Right now, you can't do that on YouTube. I'm going to try to reapply for monetization. But to do that, I'm about 120 hours short. So, if everyone that watches this just puts on my playlist and diligently watches, this is the 60th of the quote-unquote podcast that I've done. If you watch all 60, that should be enough, and hopefully I'll be able to reapply and get reinstated so that perhaps I can do a super chat. But I can't do super chats on YouTube currently. You can do them on Rumble. You can also, at the end of the video and in the description, you can send me something on PayPal or Venmo or that kind of thing. PayPal works well. And if you do that, I appreciate that. That's rad. It's Friday, Tom. You're allowed to be a bit burnt out. I am. So this morning, I actually taught 2 fitness classes prior to coming here to do the show. So I'm a tad bit tired. I wouldn't have subbed for this person, but I love them. They're great. If it wasn't her, I wouldn't do it. But she wanted to go to the beach today, so I told her I'd help her out and cover her classes for her. Natasha says, when I worked for the TSA, it was settled law that our 2 breaks and lunch were all 30 minutes long. Then we got a new manager and breaks were shortened to 15 minutes. Lunch stayed at 30 minutes. See? Settled law is just, things you like. We sure were mad. Okay. Let's see. What are our rules under martial law? I don't know. Essentially, martial law means all the regular laws are suspended and the military's running the show. So we have not had that in the U.S. for forever. And that's good, because I don't think I would like that very much at all. And if they're declaring martial law, we got big problems. So, yeah. I didn't know they were released in Houston. Also wonder if that's where the malaria cases are. As a matter of fact, they are. They are in Houston. They are in the same place these genetically modified mosquitoes were released. But that still doesn't mean that that's the cause of it, right? We don't know. Because we could also think of it this way. If the two areas that have the worst mosquito problem are Texas and Houston, right? And so that's where they decided to do these experiments. But then if these same areas that typically have the worst mosquito problems then end up having mosquito problems, that's kind of where you would expect them to be, right? So it could totally be a coincidence. Just throwing it out there. I'm glad I'm not in the Houston area, mainly because it's too damn hot. I don't know how anybody lives in Houston. I went to Houston once, and no, it was so hot. I never want to go back. Let's see. Better buy a gallon of DEET when you visit Texas. Yeah. Gathering my punishment devices on my way. Tiki-Kon, I want to do that. It's really fun. Tiki-Kon, I went last year. It was a blast. It's over really quick. But one of the most fun is there's lots of parties. And you get to go around. People throw parties in their hotel room and they just make wild drinks. So you come by and, they've made some crazy drink. And, okay, I'll try this one. And then on to the next, on to the next party, Yes, I am supposed to make a tiki container for my Alright jar using my 3D printer. What gives? I'm still working on it. I'm a busy man. I got a lot going on. I just had some guests stay with me last night. They're gone this morning. So yes, still working on it, but we'll get to it. I did a playlist last weekend. You mean I need to do another? Well, don't know. If someone doesn't get demonetized or counter-algorithmed on YouTube while talking politics, I get suspicious. I do too. And yes, I like the term counter-algorithmed. Very accurate. Lucid Moment says, I've watched all of your videos. I have a lot of time on my hands. Well, I will say that there are a lot of that time on your hands. JoshBot's profile says, he was just responding to, I wonder if that's where the malaria cases are. And he said, bingo. But it could just be a coincidence. Who knows? What do we know, right? Duggo says, back here on Rumble, they said it was the first time in 20 years that malaria showed up. Know what else is a coincidence? Bill Gates involved himself in things, somehow making them worse, but always turning a profit. And Bill Gates seems to he's a great businessman. He's always able to figure a way to just make money. And he should be admired because he's such a good guy. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. I got to get ready to go to Tiki-Kon, but I'll be back on Monday with a new show. Hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you next time. Peace.